let's just get to it. Here is Trump's 250 speech. Basically a State of the Union, if you would, for 4th of July here.
Good evening, America. If you think that was easy, it wasn't. And I want to thank everybody because they did the right thing. They saw lightning, and I said, there's no way if we have to speak in front of one person at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be here. There's no way we can be deterred. And they estimated they had 375,000 people before everybody had to leave. And they now have 150,000 people. It's the craziest thing anyone's ever seen. At least. And I want to just thank...
You go ahead and tell me, looking at the crowd that you saw earlier, because that crowd was pretty consistent with what there was going on throughout the day, whether or not you think there was a 500,000 people at that event. I saw a couple thousand tops, but hey, maybe my eyes are lying. I don't know.
Thank you, and I feel so badly about some people. They left and they couldn't get back. But you're very special people, and we have a very special country. Thank you very much. Tonight we come together for one of the most joyous and glorious milestones of all time, and you know what that is, 250, the 250th anniversary. And I do have to say this. One of my very brilliant people backstage said, don't worry about it, sir. We can do it maybe next week. I said, it doesn't work next week. This is the big day. We want July 4th. We're not looking for July something else. Because this is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Nothing like it. For 2.5 centuries, our American republic has stood as the crowning achievement of human history. This country is the home of freedom. This is the land of liberty. And this is a flag that's the banner of the most extraordinary, most exceptional, most incredible nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And we're doing better now than we've ever done before.
Yeah, with higher inflation, higher gas prices, was it 13 American soldiers dead, less munitions than we've ever had, gas supply is just about to run out. We're doing better than we ever have. More farms closed in the first half of Trump's time in office than in, what was it, all of Biden's presidency or something like that. We saw skyrocketing of bankruptcies on farms. And he's here to tell you, don't worry, it's all better. Fucking ridiculous, dude. Absolutely
no people have done
absurd.
more good, shown more courage, made more progress, righted more injustice, or achieved more greatness than you, the American people. For 250 years, the United States of America has been the hope, the promise, the light, and the glory among all of the nations of the world. All over the world, they try and be like us. Nobody can be like us. And with God's help, we will always be this or even better. We're going to be better.
And if you look at it, immigration is down not just because we have made it more strict to get into the U.S., but because of the hellscape that we've made it. People don't want to come to the U.S. So this shining city on a hill that he's talking about, the thing that, by the way, when I talk to family, they have the same idea that, like, well, where else would you go? Because America's so great, everybody wants to get here. No, they don't. Not anymore. People don't want to come here. They see what's going on here. They see the encroachment of fascism. They see the encroachment of authoritarianism, the lack of democracy that we have in this country. They're going elsewhere. They're looking at other places. They're looking at Canada, Iceland, Greenland. You know, a lot of countries in Europe rather than coming here. It's more a proximity thing, because if you're in like Mexico, South America, you have to go through the U.S. to get to some of the countries that you might otherwise want to go to if you're trying to get out of like the Central South America kind of area. But for the most part, no, people have stopped wanting to come to the U.S. You know, as just as a haven, essentially.
Here on our national mall, we're celebrating freedom's triumph over tyranny, liberty's conquest over oppression, and the enduring victory of the American spirit from the July 4th, 1776 to July 4th, 2026. Big dates. That's big dates. Two big ones. And tonight our country is stronger, freer, richer, safer, and prouder than ever before. But it all started with the miracle of history that lives forever in the heart of every single patriot. In Philadelphia, our founding fathers summoned the courage of giants and the wisdom of centuries to boldly proclaim these timeless truths.
Meanwhile, Trump wants to interfere in state elections, which is in the Constitution. He wants to abolish the 14th Amendment that we founded right after the Civil War. He wants to basically gut the Constitution in favor of his own personal policies. And yet he sits here and talks about how it's so great that they wrote the Constitution. We love the Constitution. We're big fans of it. Well, he's only a big fan of it when it agrees with him. When it doesn't agree with him, he doesn't give a shit. He'd use it for wiping paper.
They declared that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with sacred, unalienable rights by the hand of our Creator.
And yet he won't treat people equally under the law. That's why he's like looking to remove habeas corpus, Fifth Amendment rights from people. Because if you read the Constitution of the U.S., the Bill of Rights, it says to all peoples in the U.S., not U.S. citizens, are granted those rights, the right to trial and to not self-incriminate and whatnot. So he's taking those people away when he wants to de-immigrate people or emigrate people. And yet he lauds how wonderful this document is, this document that he's constantly breaking right now. But I mean, this is just par for the course. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that he's lying because he's a piece of shit. But, here we are.
That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In signing their names to the roster of freedom, those 56 patriots put everything at risk, stepped onto the stage of destiny, and seized a victory for the ages, and that's what it was. And this is an evening for the ages, I believe. This is something very special. This is bigger than if we didn't have the lightning blaring. We had lightning blaring, but this is bigger. Little more inconvenient, but it's bigger. I think in its own way, it's more beautiful. From the beginning, we were a nation that lived by the motto, victory or death, and live free or die. 1 out of every 100 Americans gave their lives in the fight for independence. To remind us of who these heroes were and what they gave us, we are honored to have here tonight in the heart of our nation's capital one of the very first American flags ever to exist, dating back to 1777.
You think he's gonna hump that first American flag again like he did the other one? Where is that? Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna, give this flag the business.
It bears the 13 stars and 13 stripes of the 13 states that declared independence on the 4th of July.
Trump looking to get frisky with some fabric here.
There it is. This was the flag that flew victorious at Saratoga. And these are the real deals, too. These are the real flags. These are flags that have seen a lot. These were the stars and stripes that flew triumphant when the British waved the white flag of surrender at Yorktown. That was a big surrender. Nobody thought that was possible. They were the greatest power of the world, and they surrendered, and that was the beginning. Ever since, the entire world has been on notice that Americans will never let anyone take our freedom away. It won't happen. And
won't let anybody but the president take our freedom away.
These talks from the communists, they haven't got a chance. Not even a chance. We don't want communists in our country.
Yeah, their policies are overwhelmingly popular, but no. We won't have them. I mean, because they have to crush them by force. They can't crush them by vote. So they have to either suppress them in the marketplace of ideas or suppress them by force, which they're trying to do with both. We just saw the Proud Boys or whatever, or Patriot Front marching through, trying to intimidate people with masks and, pretending they're a militia and shit. But that's obviously a move to try and intimidate people out of disengaging with their political process.
Never worked, and it never will work. Americans must never forget that we are a historic and heroic people with a heroic spirit and a heroic purpose on this beautiful earth of ours. We are made of the courage and the fire and the flesh and the blood of the best and the bravest people this world has ever produced. We are the bravest and the best. Tonight we pledge allegiance to the flag they gave us, and we say, God bless the immortal patriots of 1776, and long live the cause of independence. May it reign forever and ever and ever. We will always be on top. We will never let our country fall. We will.
I'm not gonna lie, for Trump, this is pretty boring. This is pretty stump speech. You know, America's great. Happy 250th birthday. This is something you could see from any politician right now. So it's kind of interesting to see his cadence being lended to such an ordinary point.
Will always be the best. Our founders not only won our liberty, they secured it with the most righteous political document ever conceived. It's called the Constitution of the United States.
I'm going to skip ahead here.
Welcome home, Colonel Roosevelt. He was a victor of San Juan Hill. He was a great gentleman. Americans won the West and built the modern world because America is a nation of winners. And today our country is winning again, and we're winning like never before.
So he's just going to run through like the history of the U.S., it seems like.
So ladies and gentlemen, these are the fighters and the banners of the greatest generation. They are the greatest generation. I hate to admit that, but they are. They saved the world, and they made America very, very proud. We're very proud of you, heroes all. And after we vanquished fascism, Americans stood against the evil of communism in the Cold War. And as I said last night at the beautiful Mount...
Interesting how he glosses over vanquishing fascism.
Rushmore, what a beautiful place. Where Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt loomed over my shoulder as I spoke. America will never be a communist country. Won't happen. Communism is a loser, and it always will be. The communist system is the opposite of the American system, and
you can tell how much they find communism and socialism, and essentially they're trying to lump all progressives into this camp to be a threat based on how much he talks about it. He's devoted a full, like, 2/3 of his speech to basically shit-talking it. Even though there's nobody who is an outright communist running for anything, but they try and conflate socialism and communism, and I think they've done themselves a disservice, because by calling every single Democrat, including like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, a socialist and a communist and all that, they've really muddied the waters, where everybody realizes that this is a nothing word that they just throw out to mean somebody I don't like, you know. Yeah, because if he really thought it was that much of a threat, he would be arresting Zohran Mamdani. But he's not going to. He has no grounds to. And if anything, you know, we'd be looking at it the other way around if he went back to New York.
Communist system has never worked. Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world. I was very proud of it. And some people smiled. They thought it was foolish, and now they're finding it's one of the most important things that we've done. We were losing to China and to Russia in space, and now we're leading them by giant steps.
Leading them by giant steps because we support the largest failed IPO in history that dropped like 30% after it hit the market, and is, by the way, going to be in your index funds and all of your retirement accounts because of special regulations that were repealed specifically for SpaceX, a company that has been losing $5 billion, I think, a quarter, the last couple quarters, going into being the largest IPO. So a company that is losing money, largest IPO, and they're the main government contractor to help us go into space. And he's claiming we're winning the space race by getting on a failing ship, I guess. I'm just going to skip to the end, see if he says anything outside of the historical bit that he's going on here.
And no dream in history is bigger or more incredible than the one that started on July 4th, 1776. The war for independence was launched by Minutemen, farmers, blacksmiths, tradesmen.
No, he's just going to go back to the same.
Who took up their muskets against the mightiest army on earth, the most powerful, free, and beautiful. We have thrived and flourished because our founders were great.
So this is something you see in a lot of fascism. It's going back to the founding myth. When people are dead, they can take the founders, they did something great, and then say, look, wow, we come from this amazing stock, and they can relate that back to, we're going to say only white people come from this stock. That's why you hear people talking about the founding stock. If you hear somebody, they're terminally online talking about that, it's probably a Republican, and they're basically just using it as code because they're too cowardly to just say, I think white people should be in charge. I think white people should do this. They don't want to say that because they know they'll be ostracized, and rightly so, because they are a huge piece of shit for doing that. But it's essentially coded language to return to this founding myth, which is something that you saw in Germany as well, where they related back to some made up myth of how they deserve to be the people who ruled over everybody, which is why they had Lebensraum and started expanding into the Rhineland and things like that. So he's using this as context for his expansionist goals. In this case, he's trying to expand in Iran and global power, not in direct taking land, although he has alluded to that with Greenland before. But in lieu of actually physically taking land, he's trying to gain political spheres of influence by basically picking on a bunch of smaller countries, except then he picked on Iran. It's only a third the size of the US and closer to our military capabilities. And all of a sudden, we're not doing so hot in that one. So, yeah, just very typical. Kind of weird to see a Trump speech. I guess when he's not interviewing and being asked direct questions and being challenged on it, he just reverts back to the same thing every boring-ass politician does, where they give stump speeches about how America is fantastic, and then he just alludes to the founding myth over and over again in the U.S., which there is some of, like, obviously they took a chance and they created a constitution, but he doesn't give a shit about any of that. He gives a shit about building them up to say that, look at this wonderful country that I'm running, to build himself up. It's all an ego play, because then he can say, I'm running that, like, wonderful, powerful country now. But yeah, it's pretty boring speech, to be honest. I don't even know how much of this is going to be in a video.